when he...
I heard his voice, Captain. Can you sleep?
Agent Starling is back. For intellectual property reasons, we cannot name the character that she used as a source of information and played psychological mind games with in Silence of the Lambs in 1991. In this video, I will simply refer to that person as HL. The story of Clarice is going to keep us glued to our screens as FBI procedural dramas tend to do. What will make this series better is that we have a talented actress in Rebecca Breeds and all the ingredients of a great series. Here is Clarice Season 2, Everything We Know. The beginning and the story of Clarice so far. We know Clarice Starling from The Silence of the Lambs in 1991. Clarice was using HL to gain a better understanding of how Buffalo Bill operated and thought. In an attempt to track him down and catch him before he killed his 7th girl, at that point, she did not yet know that HL knew who Buffalo Bill was. The 7th girl was Catherine Martin, the daughter of Ruth Martin, who in this series has risen to the Attorney General of the United States. She is the one who sends Starling on her first mission in the new CBS series as well. The 1991 film begins with our hero Clarice, portrayed by Jodie Foster, being pulled from her training at the FBI Academy at Quantico, Virginia, by Jack Crawford, an agent in the Bureau's Behavioral Science Unit. In the series, Clarice is being portrayed by Rebecca Breeds, but more about her later. Crawford tasks Starling to participate in a survey whose goal is to help understand the minds of serial killers. She has to attempt to get HL, a former psychiatrist and incarcerated cannibal serial killer, to answer her questions. Crawford's real agenda is to get HL to agree to help the Bureau catch the serial killer nicknamed Buffalo Bill, a mysterious murderer who skins his female victims as corpses. Sterling travels to the Baltimore State Hospital for the Criminally Insane, where she starts her questioning of HL. Dr. Frederick Chilton, who is treating HL, warns Starling against approaching HL's glass wall and against letting him get into her mind. HL, however, is friendly at first, but grows tired of her questions and sends her away. On her way out, one of the inmates flicks semen onto Starling. HL describes this as being unspeakably ugly, kind of rich coming from a cannibal, and calls her back. As a form of apology, he tells her to find an old patient of his. Starling finds the patient, or rather what is left of him, his head. There is a sphinx moth lodged in his throat. On her return to HL, he says that the Mothman knew Buffalo Bill in some way. HL agrees to help Starling dissect Buffalo Bill if she promises to get HL transferred to a different facility. Crawford authorizes the fake deal as pressure in mounting to find Catherine Martin. Clarice lies to HL, telling him falsely that he will be transferred. He then says he will help Clarice if she shares some of her private information with him. Starling reveals how her father died when she was 10 years old. In exchange, HL reveals that Buffalo Bill is a man who desperately wants to be a woman and is acting violently due to that fact. Chilton secretly records the conversation and gets Starling thrown off the case. Thereafter, HL is flown to Memphis, where he talks to Senator Ruth Martin, verbally abusing her and giving her a name, Louise Friend. It turns out that Louise Friend is an anagram for iron sulfide, better known as fool's gold. Clarice tricks her way into visiting HL, who is now being held in a weird cell in a Tennessee courthouse, and asks for the truth. HL teases her that all the information she needs is contained in the case file. Rather than give her the real name, HL gets Clarice to continue their quid pro quo, and she recounts a traumatic childhood incident where she was woken by the sound of lambs being slaughtered on a farm in Montana. Starling admits to HL that she often wakes in the night thinking she is hearing lambs screaming. HL speculates that she is motivated to save Catherine in the hope that it will end the nightmares. Starling is caught talking to HL and escorted off the premises. The same night, HL kills his guard in a gruesome manner and makes his escape. Starling finds out their perpetrator is Jamie Gum. He unsuccessfully applied for a sex change operation on various instances. Crawford leads an FBI strike to the wrong house, but Starling ends up in a house owned by a man named Jack Gordon. She, however, realizes it is Jamie Gum when she sees a sphinx moth flying about. Gum switches the lights off and dons night vision goggles to get an advantage over Clarice, who hears him cocking his gun and shoots toward the sound, fatally wounding him. She finds Catherine alive in a dry well. In the final scene, HL phones Clarice from a third world country. He asks if the lambs are silent now. He promises not to pursue her if she extends the same courtesy towards him. She says she cannot, and HL ends the call by saying he is having an old friend for dinner, when then we see him following Chilton. Season 1 1 of Clarice. Before we get into Season 2, we must first have a look at Season 1's clues. We pick up a year after the movie. Clarice is in session with her psychiatrist before she is pulled out of the session and flown to meet with Ruth Martin, who is the new Attorney General. Martin wants to get things done, and she trusts Starling, although we suspect she also wants to help her daughter, who is troubled after her encounter with Buffalo Bill. Catherine keeps calling Clarice, who never answers because the whole situation was traumatic to her as well. Later, when Catherine tricks Clarice into calling her, she takes Clarice back to the encounter with Buffalo Bill. Clarice keeps having flashbacks of that encounter, including sphinx moths buzzing around the light, Catherine's face staring up at her out of the pit, Buffalo Bill dying after she shot him, and so on. Clarice becomes a member of the task force called VICAP, an acronym for Violent Criminal Apprehension Program. She falls under the command of Paul Krendler, portrayed by Michael Cudlitz. He is a no-nonsense and experienced FBI agent who sees Starling as a rookie and thinks she got lucky with Buffalo Bill. She does not make their relationship easier when, after killing a hitman responsible for killing 3 women for whistleblowing on a drug company, Clarice goes off script and says that the case was in fact not about a serial killer. The first 2 women were covered in bite marks and stab wounds, but she felt the perpetrator was trying too hard, and she did not believe it was a serial killer. Her team, consisting of Krendler, Tomas Esquivel, played by Lucca de Oliveira, who was an army sniper, Shaan Tripathi, played by Penn, and Nick Sandow as Murray Clark, are not sure they can trust her after she chose not to stick to the script. Even her best friend, Ardelia Mapp, played by Devin A. Tyler, suggests she should have kept to the script when addressing the press. At the start of the second episode, Krendler tells her he is applying to have her dismissed from the team. In this episode, however, Clarice enters a compound of a militia group that is having a standoff with the FBI and ATF. The cult is a cover for the sex extortion racket. She implicates the main antagonist and the local sheriff and does it so well that by the end of the episode, Krendler had withdrawn his application to have her expelled. What does Season 2 have in store for us? Rebecca Breeds, who plays Clarice, is a great talent. She is an Australian actress and writer known for The Originals, 2013, 3 Summers, 2017, and Slam, 2018. She has carried the series well up to this point, and with the chemistry between her and her team, we believe that a second season is a certainty. We have pieced together a highly likely plot for Season 2 already, with the help of a writer. The series has to keep generating friction, and relationships have to be strengthened and weakened to keep the series alive, as is the case with any great series. As an FBI procedural drama, we already know that each episode will be different and that some episodes will have 2 parts. The underlying relationships between Clarice and her team, Ruth Martin, her family, and her friends will drive the series, and it will become one of the more popular series out there. Although HL will appear in Season 1, he will never die. He will also appear under an alias since his real name may not be used. We believe that Clarice and HL will continue to battle it out in a game of minds in Season 2. HL will help her solve some difficult cases. We believe this due to the fact that in most cases, the anti-hero tends to stick around much longer. Ruth Martin will protect Clarice in Season 1, but will be gone by Season 2. We believe this to be the case because by the end of Season 1, Clarice and her team will have formed a strong bond. It will take a new Attorney General to place pressure on their team chemistry to keep the series alive. Catherine will not be an issue anymore for whatever reason. Clarice herself will continue to fight her own demons, and by the second season, she will be in a much better place psychologically. She will have to overcome some other internal struggle, but we're not sure what that will be. From the beginning, Tomas has stuck by Clarice's side. We believe their relationship will become extraordinarily strong, but not physical, although a drunken sexual encounter may be in the cards. Lastly, and most importantly, Clarice and Paul Krendler will also become awfully close, but him as a mentor to her. There is a big possibility that by Season 2, he will not be on the team, and Clarice will have to learn to work with another leader. There you have it, our predictions for Season 2. We predict that our predictions are going to be surprisingly accurate. Stick around to find out for yourself. That is all we have for today. We hope to see you back again soon.